So on September 15th, 2023, we reached 1,000 subscribers to this YouTube channel. And if I didn't have my wisdom tooth removed 2 days ago, I would be smiling a lot more right now. No, but seriously, thank you so much if you have subscribed to the channel, if you have left a thoughtful comment. They're really touching for me to read. It seriously makes my day to hear that you picked up a book that otherwise you wouldn't have because I recommended it, or that I'm lifting your spirits in some way. That is amazing. And I always dreamed of having 1,000 subscribers. I thought that would be so cool. And now we're actually at over 2,000 already. So, wow. I want to do a Q&A today and also a giveaway because that's what I promised. So let's start with the giveaway. So here is what I'm gonna be giving away to one of you. This is the Oxford World Classics edition of Goethe's Faust, and it's translated by David Luke. And this is a superb translation of, maybe the most influential book to me. If you have watched my 6 books that made me study literature video, you know what Faust means to me. And I'm definitely gonna, in the future, talk about Faust. And I'm definitely gonna work with this English translation. As someone who can read the original, this is giving me goosebumps. It's extremely well translated, the meaning, and I have a lot of respect for David Luke and what he did here. So this is gonna go to one of you, together with a German edition of Goethe's Faust, so that, no matter what language you speak, you also have the original next to you in case you want to check it out, because I also want to, even though the lectures are going to be in English, I want to touch on the German original a little bit. So I think this is going to be a good combination. You'll also get a bar of my favorite chocolate. It's from Austria and it's organic and fair trade, so I hope you enjoy that. And you'll also get a personal card from me with a picture that I took with my analog camera. So, if you would like to win all of this, all you have to do is leave a comment down below this video and tell us about a book that you love and what it has taught you. So this video is not sponsored by YouTube or anyone for that matter, and it will be open from October 1st on 9 a.m. CET, which is when this video will be uploaded, and it will go until October 10th, that is a Tuesday, 1 p.m. CET. And then I will choose a winner, and the winner will be contacted. I will comment on your comment that you won, and also an email address where you can reach me. If you win, you have 5 days time to contact me, and if you're not responding for any reason, I will choose someone else. So yeah, that's it. It's open worldwide, and I'm super excited to send these things to one of you and also to read your comments and, share with everyone what book has taught you what lesson. Let's get into the questions. So Victor Augustus asked, do you have a book that never leaves your bedside table because you're always rereading passages? And how many languages do you speak? Yes, I have a book that never leaves my bedside table. I'll quickly get it. So this is the journal from Henry David Thoreau, 1837 until 1861. This is an abridged version of his journal because his entire journal would be several volumes. I think 8,000 pages or something. This only has, close to 700. And what is really nice is it shows at what age he wrote which journal entry. And I want to read it in my life like the passages he wrote at a certain age at the same age. Does that make sense? I think it does. So, you know, what he has written at 20, I already read, but basically I cannot read the age 34 entries yet, which start here. So I haven't read a lot of this book, obviously, but with Henry David Thoreau having such an impact on my life, I want to follow along with his thoughts, and I don't know, that's why this book is very dear to me and why it's always on my bedside table. Yes, and how many languages do I speak? I speak 4 languages. German is my mother tongue, or Austrian German, I guess. English, French, and Dutch. I lived off these fruit squishies for the past 2 days, and soup, and I have to say it's not that bad actually. JVR0906 asked, have you read any Russian literature, and if so, what are your feelings about what you have read? Okay, I got that question a lot about Russian literature, and here's the thing. I'll show you what I've read. Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I tried reading this about a year ago, and I didn't get further than halfway through, because this book gives me so much claustrophobia. It was so uncomfortable to read it in a way. It feels very frantic. It feels like a fever dream. And back then I was just looking for something more of a comforting read, or not quite as confronting. So I just couldn't get through it. I remember being on the couch here behind me and, curling up in a really warm blanket and making a cup of tea and turning on a candle, and I was still cold from what I was reading. I know that doesn't mean that the book isn't good, but it kind of put me off reading Dostoevsky for a little bit. I definitely have to give it another try. I know I'm massively missing out if I'm not reading him, but I haven't read much of Russian literature at all. I've read a few short stories by Tolstoy. I like them, but I still have to get into Anna Karenina, which I'm pretty sure will be on my first year syllabus for uni anyways. I know the thing with Russian is that I also don't understand any Russian. I don't know the language at all, and I don't like that much if I do not have the original in any way, because then I have to 100% trust the translation, and it's just not as much fun for me than having a text that I also know the original of a little bit. But please tell me if you know. Please tell me maybe something else I can read from Dostoevsky in the meantime, or to get into, and any other Russian literature. I'm super happy for recommendations. I really am. I know I'm missing out. So go ahead. Okay, a lot of people asked whether I have Instagram. I do not have Instagram. Okay, Spella Barbic 892 asked, would be lovely to hear more about your studies and your journey to university. Yes, about my studies. So I'm gonna study Komparatistik, which is called Vergleichende Literaturwissenschaften in German, or Comparative Literature Studies. So it's basically gonna be about European literature and how the different nations influenced each other throughout history. It's gonna be a lot about reading texts in the original language, about translation, about art in general and how it developed, and how literature is influenced by different forms of art and vice versa. So yeah, I'm super looking forward to that. I'm so happy I found this branch of studies. I guess you can only study it in Vienna, and I looked a lot into, doing Roman languages or Germanistic, which is like the Germanic languages, or Anglicistic, which is the English language, but I would have always missed something, right? Because I don't want to only read German text or only read English text. So I'm really glad I found that. And my journey to it, I've really rediscovered my love for reading and writing, I think about 2 years ago. I've kind of always loved it, but maybe in different forms throughout my life. But it really came back a couple of years ago, and I did very much love my job that I had, but I knew that there is this big part of my life that I haven't ever, given so much time to, and I always thought I want to study, I want to at least try it, I want to know what it's like, and now it just seems to be the perfect time in my life. So the past 1 or 2 years I've just spent a lot of time researching things, and also feeling that maybe at work it's not that perfect anymore, and playing with the idea of doing something else, seeing how it could all work financially and commute wise and everything. And yeah, it just didn't really leave my mind anymore. As soon as I found this branch of study, I was quite obsessed with it, and I first applied to the University of Applied Arts in Vienna for Schreibkunst, which is writing arts, I guess, but they didn't take me. I had to send in a portfolio of things that I've written, but it all had to be in German, and I also don't feel like German is my strong suit. And that would have been a very contemporary studies, like it's very much focused on writing, and the way contemporary writers write, I don't think there would have been much about Shakespeare, for example. So I'm quite happy with what I've found now. And that's my way to university. Basically, it starts in 3 days. When you see this video, it's gonna be tomorrow. So that's crazy. Yeah. Ivan Sarek 90 asks, I would like to know your experience reading in different languages. Do you sub-vocalize when you read? Does the sound feel different in your head? Do languages make the atmosphere in some way different? That's a lovely question. So about sub-vocalization, I definitely do that. I don't even know how to not do that. What I like even more though is reading out loud, and I think half of the time I do that either to myself or to someone else. I really love reading out loud. And does the sound feel different in my head? I mean, absolutely. I think that's the beautiful thing about languages and learning different languages, is that each language brings with it a certain kind of atmosphere and a tone, and you also feel a little bit different in every language. I wouldn't say I'm completely the same person that I am speaking English than when I speak French or when I speak German. I feel like different emotions get triggered, different centers in my brain get activated, so it always feels different. Even if a translation is really good, it still feels like a different room in a way. But I do have a lot of respect for translators. I have a little bit of experience translating. We once had a seminar at work where I translated from Dutch to German, German to Dutch, basically for like a week. And you really have to understand the subject matter in order to translate well. So I can only imagine the depth and research and inner transformation that a good translator has to go through in order to write a good translation. So that's really amazing. Okay, Lizzie-Bell XOX asked, if you could have dinner with an author, dead or alive, who would it be? I think I would have to say David Foster Wallace. And I've actually haven't read anything by him yet. I just stumbled across an interview with him, and I thought the way he spoke about the current issues that we're facing as a society was so nuanced and so tender in a way. I loved how he talked about confusing what he needs with what he wants, basically. And there was a lot of talk about irony, that irony is the song of a bird who learned to love its cage. But more than what he said, I was just really captured by how humble and human he was. He seemed to have so much self-awareness, and he admitted when he didn't know something. He struggled for words all the time and how to phrase sentences, which is something I can very much relate to. And he just seemed like such a down-to-earth, wonderful person to talk to. And I don't know, I just felt a real moment of kinship and sadness that he took his own life already. And yeah, so it would be David Foster Wallace. Edoshin7847 asked, do you still listen to black metal? I think your patches were Woods of Desolation and Austere, which blew my mind as an Australian literature / black metal fan. I was so happy when I read that comment. I didn't think anyone would recognize these very, relatively unknown bands. So hi, I'm super happy that you've watched my video. I do still listen to black metal, even though my taste has evolved quite a bit, and I also don't listen to it as much anymore, is the short answer. I think that picture I was 16 on, I probably still said austere instead of austere, because I was so young and could only pronounce things in a very German way. And back then I loved bands like Landlos and Alcest and Trudk, Urfaust, Bölzer, Cult of Fire. I kind of transitioned into those occult black metal bands, which they all put on an amazing show if you see them live. I remember a Cult of Fire show that was really quite breathtaking. I've been at both Niedrosium Black Masses when they were in Brussels. I think that was 2015 or something. So if you look up the lineup, that's about what I listen to a lot. But over the years, my taste evolved a little bit more to like doom metal. Bell Witch is still one of my favorite bands. I really, really love them. And also like in a more psychedelic rock direction. So I really love Ohm and Earth and Uncle Acid, Electric Wizard and Reverend Bizarre and music like that. Super awesome. I would say my favorite band is still Ulver, or I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but I think their musical history or the way they develop is beyond inspiring, and I love everything they bring out. So that is, still one of my favorite bands. And I think actually that in metal there's also some classics, like with books, that you can kind of always listen to. So, Bathory will always be one of my favorites and has always been, and I can always listen to that. Same with some Burzum albums. And the one band I really still listen to from back then is Mgła, Polish black metal. If I really feel like I have to burn through something, I put on Mgła. I think their With Hearts Towards None album is a masterpiece. But I also love everything before that. Grosa, Presents, Further Down the Nest. Yeah, some good stuff. Okay, GMS4635 asked, do you prefer reading translated books or written in the original language? I try to read in the original as much as I can, but what I also really love is to have both the original and the translated version in front of me and like going back and forth, comparing the two. That's a lot of fun as someone who loves languages and translating. Yeah, as I said with the Russian, you know, I don't like it when I only have the translation and no access at all to the original. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. The JBC85 asked, do you like visual art, both classical and modern? And you said you used to work before starting your studies. What did you work with or as? Okay, so visual art, I have to say I don't really know a lot about it. To me, visual art is the most difficult to get into or to understand in a way. I have very easy access to words and literature, poetry, also music, but yeah, like paintings, for example, are really a bit more difficult for me. And I don't know, I think I've probably also never given it a fair chance or something, so I can't really tell you whether I like it or not. It feels like something a little bit that I don't get. Maybe the closest to that, if that counts, is photography. I do like photography, especially analog photography, so that I can understand, I can see the beauty in that. It moves me. Yeah, but I don't know, that's all I can say about it for now. In terms of what I worked as before, so I worked on an organic dynamic farm with people with mental disabilities. So it was a bit of a self-sustainability / social project. So it was a big farm and we had a lot of animals and we grew our own vegetables and were, yeah, to a big part self-sustained. We also had a wood workshop and a weavery and everything. And yeah, people with handicaps, I guess, also worked there and lived there. And we had a little shop and a little cafe, and I worked in the shop and in the cafe, making coffee for people and cake and, you know, carrying the veggies back and forth and selling them. And I was responsible for the newsletter there and many other things. Yeah, it's a wonderful place. Okay, the next question is from Lisa QT4HH, and she asks, what made you decide not to go to university when you came out of high school? Yeah, I think there were several reasons. First of all, I really didn't know what I would have wanted to study. I think I would have vaguely been interested in psychology and maybe piano, but that seemed like very daunting choices. I knew a lot of people were doing psychology already, and I think I wouldn't have been good enough at piano. Also, I wanted to live abroad, so that's what I did. After I got out of school, I just wanted to get out of home. I wanted to learn another language, and yeah, that's what I did basically. Yeah, and also I knew I wanted to become a social worker, but my entire family works in the social sector or in farming. So I thought, I think I want to try it out first before I actually commit to doing an education or something. So that was my year of trying out whether I even like that. Okay, next question is by Laughing Stock Farm 1. You have alluded to taking hallucinogens in the past. Can you say a bit about what motivated you? and how you think those experiences have affected your overall relationship with literature. That's a beautiful question, and I think that could be worth an entire video. What motivated me, I think in short, was just curiosity. I kind of stumbled into an experience like that and was really in awe of what particularly mushrooms could do. So I just wanted to explore that more. I was a lot into meditation and self-inquiry and those things back then, so that's amazing tools to explore the workings of your mind and psyche with. I think that is a good question. How did it change my relationship maybe to literature? I think what those experiences did is they made me familiar with the archetypal experiences that live in all of us, which is also a little bit what books do, so I can appreciate that more now. They've also made me less judgmental, I would hope, and introduced me to the strange loopy nature of this reality, and just appreciating a lot more diverse art. So I think all of that definitely helped in making me appreciate literature more. But I'd love to do a dedicated video on that, because I've had so many insights also around reading and writing, being on psychedelics. I mean, just some really cool things that still stick with me, so I would love to share that in the future. And then we have the last question: would you share more about your favorite Frisian books and Dutch book recommendations? So I cannot say a lot about that because I haven't personally read as much in Frisian. I also can't read it. I can only read it when Eric reads it to me. And yeah, in Dutch, when I lived there, it was mainly like books about social work, so that wouldn't be any high literature. But I did ask my mother-in-law to send me some recommendations, so I will give you those, and maybe that helps you out a little bit. So a Frisian writer she recommends is Rink van de Velde. De Fukke is a classic, which is also translated to English. It's called The Trap, and it's about a story from the Second World War. She told me a little bit what it's about. Sounds really, really interesting. And then for Dutch writers, she says W.F. Hermans, Nooit meer slapen, which is in English Beyond Sleep. Marieke Lucas Reineveld, De Avond is Ongemak, which is translated to The Discomfort of Evening. She also says that Aaron Grunberg is good. Tirza is also translated to English, which has the same title. And what she really recommends is Simone Atangana, Confrontaties. Gaat over hoe diep racisme in onze samenleving is geworteld. En dat is een hele aanrader blijkbaar. So, I hope there's something in that. I cannot personally vouch for them, but I really trust her taste. So, yeah. Thank you so much for all these questions. I will round off the video here. Please enter the giveaway. It will be lovely to reading your comments, and thank you so much again for 1,000 subscribers. I'm so happy, and I'll see you soon.